Hi students, it's Miss Gilbert and we are going to be doing some practice problems with the theorems that we just learned. So for this first practice problem, it's super easy. It just says determine DC, the length of DC. So right here, we see that XB and AC are 90 degrees, which means they are perpendicular. And if they are perpendicular, then that means that the chord is bisected or cut into equal parts. So that means that DC, let's see if we can get this to focus. Okay, DC, if AD is 6, then DC is 6. Okay. And then this one here is find the length of AB, which is tangent to circle C at point B. So we know if it's tangent to a radius, then it's 90 degrees. And if it's 90 degrees, we can use Pythagorean theorem. So A squared plus B squared, I'm going to use 15 for B, and C I know is 17 because that's the hypotenuse, and C is always the hypotenuse. So if you need your calculator, grab your calculator, and we're going to do 15 squared, which is 225. So A squared plus 225 equals, and then if I do 17 squared, that's 289. And then I want A alone, so subtract 225 from both sides. A squared equals 64. And then we need to square root. And square root of 64 is 8. So AB equals 8. In number 3, AB is tangent to circle C at point B. So we know that this is 90 degrees. If BC equals 6 and AC equals 10, determine AB. Okay, so again, we can set up Pythagorean theorem. And we know that C is always the hypotenuse, so that's 10. And then A and B, it doesn't matter. I'll say 6 squared plus B squared equals 10 squared. And then 6 squared, 36. And 10 squared, 10 squared is 100. We need B alone, so we subtract 36 from both sides. 100 minus 36 is 64. Then we need to take the square root. And the square root of 64 is 8. So AB equals 8. Okay, for number 4, circle X has a radius of 13. So I always look for all of the radii, all of them. They might be more than one. So remember, a radius goes from the center to the edge of the circle. So I know that this is 13. The center to the edge of the circle, I know that this radius is also 13. Then it says ZW. Z xw equals 12, and xv is perpendicular to zy, xv perpendicular to zy, so that means these are 90 degrees. And then determine xw. So we want just this part, xw. So I see a right triangle here. And I know that this side is 12, and this is a chord. And if the chord is perpendicular to the radius, then the chord is bisected. So that means that wy, this line right here, is also 12. Now I have two sides of my triangle, so I can use Pythagorean theorem to find that third side. The hypotenuse is 13. I'll say A is 12, and we're looking for B. If you want to use your calculator, 13 squared is 169. 12 squared is 144. Subtract 144 so we can get B alone. 169 minus 144 is 25, and we take the square root, we get B equals 5. So that means that XW is 5. Okay, now I want you guys to try the rest of this worksheet on your own, and I will post the answer key on my MCPS classroom.